Hey everybody, this is Pooka bringing you the finals of the Fond du Lac, Wisconsin City Championships. Now, this is a pretty cool matchup because we have two decks that have been built mainly around some new cards that just came out. So we got some new decks coming at you here. On the left, we have Vince, who's playing a Kyurem, Cobalion, Electrode Prime deck. And then on the right, we have Andrew, who is using a Magnezone Electric Zekrom deck. So, both decks focused around some new Pokemon. For Vince, pretty much the entire focus of his deck are cards we just got Noble Victories, which are Kyurem and Cobalion. And then Andrew, of course, has Electric, but Magnezone and Zekrom are some pretty familiar faces. So, Vince will go first, starts with a Kyurem, and gets that wonderful Collector. Of course, your first turn always looks better when you have that Collector in your hand, and you get to search for 3 basics. We see he's going to grab a Voltorb, Cleffa, and Cobalion. So, this is actually quite a strange matchup. Vince's deck revolves around getting a quick Electrode Prime and using Energy Might to hopefully get some energy off the top 7, attach it to your big basic Pokemon, Kyurem and Cobalion, and just kind of go with that. These Pokemon are so strong that you can just attack and usually overwhelm your opponent. Now, the strange part is, neither of these Pokemon are very good against Magnezone Prime, which is 140 hit points, and, excuse me while the camera's being adjusted a little bit, but, Magnezone Prime is 140 hit points. It takes a long time, it takes a long time to get knocked out by Kyurem and Cobalion, because, Cobalion's actually metal, which Magnezone does resist. So, Magnezone can also Lost Burn to knock out any of these Pokemon in one hit. Of course, it would take 3 energy for Lost Burn to knock them out. But, honestly, Magnezone is very good against all of these Pokemon in this deck. So, we got a good shot that the Magnezone deck could win, depending on how fast Vince's start is. So, we do see a turn 2 Energy Might, and we're going to see how many energy he gets. Looks like 2, not bad. When you're using Electrode, usually you want to get 2 at least. Usually when you get 1 or 0, that's very bad news. And looks like we got 2. Anything more than 2 is really welcomed. Of course, you do give up a prize when you use Energy Might, but it can be worth it just to power up these attackers a little quicker. And as we see here, on the second turn of the game, we have Kyurem using Glaciate, which does 30 damage to your opponent's entire field. And I did want to note that on Andrew's first turn, he didn't actually play a supporter, so he had a pretty weak start, but it looks like he does have a Sage here now. Not sure whether or not he got that off his prize or drew it off the top, but either way, that's a big card to draw. Maybe that'll get him some stuff, because if he doesn't get anything going here soon, Glaciate will overrun his field. Now, the weird thing about Kyurem is, even though Glaciate is a very devastating attack, it doesn't do a whole lot if there aren't that many Pokemon out on your opponent's field. In this case, you have a Magnemite and a Zekrom, so Glaciate's actually not too strong. And whoa, look out, we got a rare candy, Magnezone, so this game is completely turned around and could swing back into Andrew's favor. The problem is he doesn't have any way to accelerate his energy right now. Magnezone, of course, when you use Lost Burn, has to send the energy to the Lost Zone, so not the greatest situation for Andrew. He would love to have some Electrics out on the field just to get more energy in play, and he's actually going to have to attach and pass, which is the correct move here. You don't want to use Lost Burn unless you're getting a knockout, usually, just because, well, one, you have to get rid of your energy, and number 2, he would walk into Kyurem's Outrage, which would be a bad idea. So we do see Vince going ahead with some stuff here. He did play a Cheren. We have a second special metal on the Cobalion. Now that's actually sort of a big deal. If he would play an Eviolite on that as well, with the 2 special metals and the Eviolite, he would reduce all damage done to Cobalion by 40, making it so Magnezone would have to Lost Zone 4 energy for a knockout instead of the normal 3. So those special metals can add up, especially with Eviolite, but we do see just another Glaciate this turn. And Vince is just going to be trying to set up that Magnezone because, like I said before, there's no real efficient way for his deck to deal with Magnezone Prime. This is probably the one weakness of his deck. Kyurem and Cobalion are very strong attackers, very quick. They're just basic Pokemon with a lot of hit points with very strong attacks. But they really don't have a way to knock out Magnezone. Most other Pokemon in the format, no big deal. These two Pokemon can cover those pretty nicely. But Magnezone is just one that has resistance to metal. It's got a ton of hit points, so Glaciate doesn't affect it that much. And we could see Andrew pull this game out even though he didn't have the greatest start. Now he did get that Magnezone, which allowed him to draw into this Collector. So now he's going to get some more basics out there. And this turn I assume he will be able to attach and Lost Burn for a knockout on Kyurem, which is exactly what he would want to do. Even though you don't want to leave yourself without energy against any deck, really. When you're staring down at Kyurem, the one thing you do want to do is knock that out immediately. You don't want to let it keep using Glaciate and spreading damage onto your field. So even though it's not really a great idea to Lost Zone all of your energy most of the time, in this case it would be the absolute right move to take out that Kyurem, and that's exactly what Andrew does. So now we're going to see Vince have to respond to this. Unfortunately, Magnezone does resist metal, which means Iron Breaker on Cobalion would do 60. So even though he could attack here, he won't actually get a knockout, and he's actually going to have to use Energy Might again with Electrode Prime. We'll see how many energy he gets this time. So that's 2 prizes he's given to Andrew with that, and oof, alright, we got 3 energy this time, which is a pretty big deal. He's going to be able to attach all 3 to Kyurem and start glaciating again. And we do a 3rd special metal on that Cobalion and an N. So Vince will draw 5 and Andrew will draw 3. Unfortunately for Vince, that Magnezone will not be knocked out this turn. So even though N will put Andrew down to 3 cards, he will be able to refill his hand using Magnezone's Magnetic Draw and get up to 6 cards. So pretty cool deal. And actually, I don't think Vince has taken a prize yet, so it'll be 6 cards for Vince. So N, a very strong card in this situation, and he's going to be able to send out Kyurem and probably just Glaciate again. And now this is a dangerous position for Andrew to be in. That Magnezone Prime is stuck in the active position. If he doesn't evolve those Dynamos, they will be knocked out by Glaciate. And honestly, without Electric in play, there's no way for him to keep up with Vince's attackers. Even though Vince did give up 2 prizes with those Electrode Primes blowing themselves up, he can kind of afford that because, you know, he'll catch up with Glaciate eventually. He'll just knock out multiple Pokemon in one turn, and if Andrew just misses a turn or 2 for not knocking out with these Kyurems, I mean, his whole board is going to be covered in damage, and then what can you do from there? So we do see Andrew decides to play a catcher, bring up Kyurem. I don't think this will have too big of an impact on the game, because we saw at the beginning, Vince had a Shaman in his hand, so he might have actually played that Kyurem down to kind of bait out a catcher from Andrew, and it looks like he might have gotten away with that here, so I don't think this will slow Vince down very much, but if you're Andrew, you might as well try. You know, you want to play your hand down, so you can use Magnetic Draw more effectively anyway. So now we do see him play a Junk Arm. Unfortunately, I didn't get to capture the discard piles in this game. Just had a bad camera angle. We can see the whole field, but the discard piles are not visible, unfortunately. So we'll just kind of have to play it by ear and see what these guys do. So what Andrew's going to need to do this turn is evolve his Dynamos. If he doesn't do that, I don't see him winning this game. He's got to get at least 1 Electric out this turn, preferably 2, and oh, looks like he didn't evolve either of those. So that's going to be a devastating blow for him. He's going to lose both these Dynamos this turn, assuming Vince can use Glaciate again. And we do see a Super Rod shuffling in 2 Waters and a Kyurem. And I'm sure off those 6 cards from his N, Vince will have some way to get the Shaman or at least a switch. We do see a research record. Let's see what he's doing with that. He might have a Juniper in his hand. Maybe he doesn't actually have the Shaman, so he's just going to rearrange his top 4. Oh, and Sharon for 3. Okay, I guess that's what he had. And he does get a Junk Arm. There is a communication in there, so yeah, sure. Oh, he has communication in his hand, so research record is pretty good with Electrode Prime. Lets you kind of see what you got coming. If you don't have any energy on the top, you can just put your cards on the bottom of your deck with research record. That way energy might helps you out a lot more. Research record makes it more effective. So now we do have that Shaman I was talking about, moving all the energy to his active Kyurem with Celebration Wind, and Andrew could be in a bit of trouble here. There are no energy on his field. He lost both of those Dynamos, so honestly I don't see what he can do from here. You know, he had the prize lead, but now just that one turn missed setup, and now Vince can just glaciate and the game will be over. Andrew recognizes this, and we're going to move on to a game 2. So stay tuned. That was game 1. We'll see if game 2 is any better. We had a pretty quick and decisive win for Vince. Things could have gone a lot differently for Andrew, but just didn't draw the right cards, and it can be over just like that against the Kyurem deck. So that was game 1. We'll be right back for game 2.